before I even before we even started, I was getting sleepy, so I drove to Starbucks to get yeah, a red eye, and um I completely forgot that Asians don't know what the fuck a red eye is, dude. And I was like parked right outside of the Starbucks around my neighborhood, which is packed. So you literally have like 30 seconds before the guard sees you. Then you're going to be treated as like, okay, he has his hazards on. But if he sees you, he's going to make you move and look for parking. So I get my red eye, and I think I'm fully encapsulated in getting red eyes now for any time we record, at least while I'm still here in Asia.
I've been jumping on that actually since you left. I was been really tired at work, and I just get a small one or whatnot just for the jolt. Because I mean, I guess it's enough for me to. I don't need a grande or venti size, but yeah, man, that thing works.
Yeah, because it's hard because when we record, it's right after lunch. Yeah. So the lazy islander in me just wants to fucking nap, dude. I just get sleepy already. Zach, where were you coming from tonight?
No, it's funny because I was just talking to Jay. He also asked me the same thing. I took a nap before I came in, and then the same thing with Jay.
Yeah, I was pretty tired today, so I had to take a 30-minute nap just before. So yeah, I mean, you know, if I didn't have to go to sleep, I probably would have been on that red eye thing too.
Yeah. Zach, by the way, you sound a little hotter, just so you know. Or Jay, Jay, speak up, but whichever one that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I think I was thinking about this the other day, and I just rethought about it before we were gonna record.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Can you repeat that part? You thought about it?
I was thinking about this the other day, and right before we're gonna record. 2/3 of our tenure on a radio station, you know, even with Track Life and Dash, it's been almost like cross country or cross continental, because I've been gone since like May, June of 2015.
Yeah,
dude,
wow.
I just, you know, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh my god, most of our radio career. We've been across the globe fucking recording or stacking up while in LA during short trips, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a crazy realization year for me. How's 2017 for you guys?
Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy because I got into 3 car accidents.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You have been hanging out with Asians.
Yep. Hold up 1 second for that one.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't think it played.
Supposed to be a car crash.
Oh, yeah. I got that one too. Hold up. Well, no, I got the record scratch. Can't look for the car crash. But yeah, no, I got into 3 car accidents. One in January, the other one in April, and the last one in August. And the thing is like they were all minor fender benders. Thank God. Like I didn't get into a serious car accident. But the thing is like obviously. One of them was turned into my insurance, so now that has to go up. And it's just me, like, literally on the grind trying to make my money. And, like, some sort of event will just, like, take that money away, like the car accidents, so.
Is it because it's...
man.
Yeah, is it because, Zach, you were, like, rushing, or were you social media or cell phone distracted?
All right, so the first one, I was at work, literally in the parking garage, and this one Armenian chick was at the T intersection. She had the stop sign. I had to go ahead. I did go fast, but the thing is like I came in. So as soon as it scanned my card, I just come in, and she doesn't see me, and she hits me. And so then the thing is like she tries using her superiority over me, like, oh, you know, I'm a cop, so I know how to do investigations with a crime scene. She was like, and you're going too fast. I was like, did you also happen to see the stop sign? And you know I had to go ahead? She was like, She goes like, well, I couldn't see. That's why I step out. I was like, oh, so you didn't look at the mirrors. And like, I pointed up at the mirrors and like, she was like, all right, so why don't we cut it 50-50 then? And we don't report it to insurance. I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. Second one was intentionally my fault. Because I was at this place where, I even chose the restaurant because I know it's validated parking. But then for some reason, when I pulled up to the parking structure in Pasadena, like it totally escaped me. So I was like, fuck, $10. And so I backed out. But when I backed out, I had a pull. And it wasn't until like I was like in the middle of that dinner date with my friend. She just goes, oh, thank you for reminding me I had to validate my parking. And I was like, wait, what? She was like, yeah, you validate parking here. I was like, God damn it, I forgot. So I could have avoided the whole fiasco and not paid like however much, like $700, $800 and just like fucking gone through, you know? And the third one was I was merging on the 134 heading towards Pasadena. It's the part right before the Figueroa exit. So like it's kind of you're going downhill on the slope. As it's like merging from 4 lanes down to 2, I'm in the 3rd lane and I see this girl who's wearing hijab. Like I'm assuming she's Arab. She's down on her, looking down at her phone. And so I'm like, oh, she's giving me this opening to go in the 2nd lane. Just then she looks up and then she speeds up. And so in order for me to avoid that accident, I merge back into the 3rd lane and I hit the car in front of me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Fuck. I guess the biggest regret for me, if I were in your shoes, is that fucking $10.
That is the biggest fucking mistake.
I mean, $10 is a lot for parking, but it's like, I've done something stupid like that. Before we get to you, Jay, it was me and my cousin Anna, and we were visiting her sister Christina, and admittingly, I was driving drunk, and my cousin was even more fucked up than I was. So I was the lesser of the two. And this is before Waze, this is before Google Maps, this is before internet mapping. And we got on the wrong freeway, and I decided to fucking back out. So I ended up hitting my driver's side quarter panel.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so it was like
backing out of the entrance.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Like a dummy.
Oh shit!
At like 2:30 in the a.m. So, I mean, in the end, it was a $500 deductible, but it's just what could have happened. You know?
Oh,
just stupid, just dumb shit things.
Well, they're called accidents for a reason, man. So it's just. Sometimes you don't plan on these things, and shit. I've had my share throughout the years, but what are you gonna do, man?
So how was 2017 for you, bro?
Oh man, it was a roller coaster, bro. It was a lot of, trying to maintain my sanity at my job. There was part of that. There was also like, just trying to go through, different health things. I fucking got diagnosed with diabetes, man. Midway through the year. And I mean, it's just a realization thing. It was also around the time my grandma passed away, and like, I don't know, man. It was just a lot of like that, those kinds of things. But sprinkled in a lot of cool shit too, man. I can't even front. Like I got to do some traveling. I got to do, just like cool stuff, like hang out with the Lakers stuff, and then the Dodger season, things like that. I mean, and it was also just kind of a focus. I mean, I thought a lot of those things were just kind of a way for me to refocus on like, health and what I need to do to adjust and take care of myself and all kinds of things there too. So, I mean, it's been a lot of maybe the just getting older transition and, figuring out what to do with myself, health-wise, mentally, spiritually, all that stuff. So I just kind of had to realign and reorganize myself and, still realizing that I'm a work in progress, man. So it was a great year, though. I mean, honestly, there was just been a lot of good times and a lot of good memories, and I'm looking forward to next year.
But Jay, are you still diabetic? Like, are you just diagnosed as a diabetic now?
I don't really know. I mean, I think so. I don't know how it goes. I've only, it's still relatively new. It's like, 5-6 months into it. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I don't really want to. I don't want to assume. I just assume like, yes, I am. Even though a lot of the symptoms have gone down, like my blood sugar and all that stuff. And it could be, if you want to be rosy about it, but I'm still kind of assuming that I am, and I'm just trying to, I guess, find out what the new normal for me is now, or just to trim things here and there and whatnot. Try to realign and figure out what I got to do in this next stage of life.
Yeah,
but I really don't know. I really don't know the diagnosis and what constitutes. I think probably after a year or maybe a couple years, if things are more back to normal, quote unquote, back to normal, then yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't know the diagnosis part.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that. I'm a longtime vet of diabetes, so.
Dude, man, I mean, it was a lot of you knowing you and just kind of going through a lot of the learning process. I could just kind of turn back to some of the things that just by hanging out with you, eating out at night, sometimes late, like what to eat. Like, okay, I know Charles doesn't like to do high carb stuff at night. Oh, there's a reason why. Because, you don't want your blood sugar to be high in the morning, shit like that, and it's just, I was really grateful during that time. It was stressful for me and whatnot, but I mean, there was things where I could just turn to and just say like, wow, how fortunate am I to have been around that? And, it's just like, oh, one of my best friends that I've been hanging out with for like the last couple years or, whatnot regularly, I can use that knowledge that he shared with me, or just his experience. And I think that was like, wow, well, coincidental, fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'm happy to take on diabetes for you, Jay.
We're going to start the march, man.
I'm so glad you're my guinea pig, Charles.
Totally, man. Well, when you turn about the first bodily change, I would say would be early 30s. That would be the first bodily change. For me specifically, I could bust a nut and still fuck till like 33, dude. Like, just Gilbert Arenas all over Kobe and just go crazy, dude. Just be nuts. But the moment I hit like 35, 36, that was the second change, the mid-30s. And then when you hit 40, 41, boom. That, okay. All right, this is where I really have to plan the day now, and do things like in space. But, that's just dealing with getting older and shit, man. And
yeah, man.
Dude, this year I was looking at, I'm going to shoot out a bunch of people just to keep the positive vibes, the people who died during this year. Fucking Charlie Murphy, Hugh Hefner, Chuck Berry, Don Rickles, not to be super old, but like Mary Tyler Moore. And for the older heads who listen to our show, Robert Guillaume, who is like Benson, the butler. Right? Like in the 80s, it was weird. They had like 2 Butler fucking miniseries. It was who's the British guy? Chubby guy.
Mr. Belvedere.
Mr. Belvedere. And then Robert Guillaume was like the sophisticated black butler. So I thought his significance was like, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to overthink the implications of that show, but to have a black butler now in 2017 in December, there'd be so many protests for that show.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? It was hard to watch for me to watch that show because it seemed like it was an adult show. Like Mr. Beverly was cool because they were kids around my age, and I could laugh at and relate to those kinds of things. And I'm thinking of another show where the butler is the Fresh Prince, right? They had a black butler, but it was
late '80s, early '90s, right? Yeah,
yeah. It had, but they were a black family, so maybe that changes the dynamic. But yeah, it was Benson. Like, was there anything like controversial, like the Jeffersons or anything like that? How we're just like how the main character is a black man, but then he's still gonna have to express himself based on the racial fronts or comedically or socially. I don't know.
From what I remember, I probably saw him no more than like 7-8 shows in its entirety. He was just the go-to moral compass. So they really painted him as like this smart, astute guy that could be on the come up, though he never really moved up to like banging the wife or anything. But he was just the butler he's the black guy and he's our moral compass, which was kind of cool.
Would that be like? Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, is that like Nell Carter? Like, give me a break.
Little bit, but he just carried himself really like almost like British. Pinky, okay. Tea time, pinky out kind of thing.
Okay.
Don't forget Tom Petty, Ralphie May, and Malcolm Young.
Yeah, that I mean, there's a stack of like stand-up comedians, and for me, I guess not that life should be like this life is better than this life, but for me, it was Charlie Murphy and then Don Rickles. Because I wasn't that much of a Ralphie May fan, but of course you got to mourn his loss. But Charlie Murphy was a big fucking passing for me.
Here's the thing about Ralphie May, because there's a rumor that the reason why he didn't win Last Comic Standing in the first season is because producers wanted someone that was at least like attractive looking, or someone that would like could appeal and like is marketable to the audience. So they had Dat Fan win, which, if you remember, like Dat Fan didn't go on to have like a stellar career. Like
he got
still
Patriced.
Like, yeah, he got Patriced. And the thing is with Ralphie May, like what the editors would do is even Ralphie May was so undeniably good that the applause breaks were loud, and the editors would have to go back and try to like make it sound less than what it really was.
Yeah, and honestly, Zach, it still hasn't changed, right? Like.
Right.
Everything is about like equality, talent, or content and context over fucking favoritism. But that's a brilliant point that you brought up about Ralphie May in regards to his passing. Because, like being like an overweight comic, I thought Chris Farley was far more praised over Ralphie May. I also thought that Ralphie May was kind of brushed off because he had like that trailer trash kind of humor versus, the snobbery of being with SNL with Chris Farley.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty bad. Sorry, Zach. The way he was kind of like shitted on a little bit by the comic community. I know you're more in touch, Zach, so...
Yeah, but no, I don't think it was the comic community. I think it was just like other, I would say organizations, maybe like the agents or like the managers or even like TV people, because like with the comic community, he was very well respected. Like anytime someone would come up to him, he just happened to have this genuine like persona with the person that he would be nice to everyone. And like, yeah, of course he would rag on you, but at the same time, it was just like, it wasn't the same way Patrice would, or it wouldn't be the same way Tracy Morgan would, like it was actually like, he would want you to jar back with him. So it was politely. And if he didn't see you do that, then he was like, fuck it. And just like, you guys would smoke pot.
Yeah, maybe perhaps the better wording for me is the entertainment community the entertainment parts didn't really respect him as much. But stand-ups, I guess there's almost like this universal thing with stand-ups. It's like, hey man, he's gone through the fire like what we have, right? We've been shit on. We fucking fall flat on our face in front of people on the come up. But one thing we didn't discuss, guys, about Charlie Murphy. Joe Rogan was saying this in front of Brendan Schaub. Charlie Murphy really skipped the passage and burning of the fire through open micing because he was Eddie Murphy's brother. You know, like they were talking about that, and it was interesting because Charlie Murphy was never sweated on not going through the fire first. Yeah, and I never thought of that. Right?
Is it just really more so he's been around it? You know, like being around Eddie Murphy's come up or whatnot. I understand the whole, you know, you need to be in the fire kind of thing and getting your first breaks and making your own ways. But I mean, to have a brother Eddie Murphy, I mean, that you just can't. It's like, oh, you know, you're born with just this natural gift of like, okay, well, I just have a very powerful brother, you know, and you just make your chops your own way, not necessarily the traditional way, but you still have to like find yourself too, you know. It's not like, oh, he's just doing something like, you know, I don't want to compare him to the Kardashians, but it's kind of, you know, in that same thing where, yeah, they're not doing anything, but they're doing a lot to like keep their brand and market their brand and all that stuff. So it's not like they're doing nothing. And you know, there is work to it.
I will say this though, because I think I saw the same thing as Charles about the Joe Rogan podcast. The of Eddie, I think it was because of the Chappelle show, and Joe Rogan mentioned something to the effect of how like a lot of people at that time would come up to him after the show and just be like, Charlie Murphy, you know, they always say that. And then to the effect of like, Joe Rogan asked him like, hey, aren't you annoyed by whenever people do that? And he said something to the effect of like, no, man, because it just means I'm like living my own life. He goes like, I have my own identity. He's not living in his brother's shadow. If anything, like he was able to emerge from that. And however long that freaking the shadow was casted, he was able to emerge from it. And his stand-up climb was like, yeah, like what you were saying. He was first a host, and then he went on to be a headliner, and he would just even swap time with Joe Rogan like 10 years ago.
See, the one thing with Charlie Murphy too, and this is to piggyback on both your points, Charlie Murphy was an amazing storyteller, you know? Yeah. And Eddie Murphy told stories too, but it was like his such signature style. You know, it's his own style because there's a certain grit and there's a certain like, hey, I was an observer because I was Eddie Murphy's brother because of the story I'm going to tell you. You know, it wasn't like him trying to put up a front like, hey, let me paint myself some pain, right?
Yeah.
You know, he was truly himself, which... I guess he's just the exception to the rule, right? He's kind of like, this is a bad example because it's so strong an example. Like Kanye, like, you know, normally, you know, the Argyle sweaters, and he was labeled as like a terrible MC, but, you know, he made his own route and made it on his own. And, yeah, I think with Charlie Murphy, he belongs to that Patrice O'Neal, I am my own Kanye West. I am my own story. Like I didn't come up the same way people came up. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And then Hugh Hefner passing. It's unfortunate he's old, but it would have been cool to hear him be opinionated about all this shit coming up where women are accusing men. Of all the, you know, sexual advances and offenses that people are doing.
Would you say he's lucky though? Like he didn't have to be in that, because I mean I'm sure.
Great point.
Somebody would have eventually said, "Oh, he harassed me at some point," or I don't know. I'm thinking about it that way.
Well, in that episode we did of Hugh Hefner, Charles, you sent that one clip of one of the playmates accusing him, and then even writing a book, and then that other playmate was like driving to whatever the site was for the autograph signing, and she was like, "Oh fuck no, this is disrespectful. She just is biting the hand that fed her."
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, Jay, it's a terrible setup, right? It's like he's the Playboy King. He walks around in a robe. He has multiple girlfriends. So it's a case of like, you're at his party. You're probably going to be wearing a bikini or lingerie somehow, and it's like, you know what, dude? It's like, that's a tough one. Yeah, it's like, oh, the fucking, the street dog you sold me is a day old. Well, yeah, it's a street dog, So it's kind of like that, but that's a great point, because God knows what would have happened. Oh, by the way, Zach, there's an opening at NBC now that good old my friend Matt's gone for ding-slonging fucking on-air anchor's gone, so you could apply for that job, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Today's Show, starring Zach Alcalde.
Oh, God, that was loud.
Oh, yeah, the only reason why I brought that up because I saw your Dash Radio on LinkedIn 1-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Dude, it doesn't feel like a year on Dash.
It went by fast.
And I think also the fact that, we weren't there as much as we probably could or would be and will be.
Yeah, because it's like the whole time we were like, yeah, we're going to be on Dash, but I'm leaving 3 days from now. And I'll be back in 2018 by 2016.
2016, dude.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago, bro.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
It's just,
wow.
It's flown. Do you guys think, well, there's two things that are heavily affected that I saw in 2017. One of them is like with stand-up comedy. Do you guys think that there's far more shows on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
But do you guys think stand-up comedy's made a comeback in the sense of like, oh, it's dirtier, oh, it's nerdier, oh, it's more alt-left? Or do you guys think because everyone's like a fucking crybaby, there's more outlets, but it hasn't been allowed to be a progressive growth for stand-up?
Well, there's the positive and the negative to this whole movement.
Okay.
And the thing is the positive, I even talked to my friend Anna about it, because Anna was on Roast Battle, which is on Comedy Central. She got her way through the Comedy Store. Jeff Ross helped pitch the idea, and they did season 2. And then she was one of the people that competed. One of the things that she mentioned was the fact that like she was trying to inspire everyone of like just getting off Comedy Central. She was going like, everyone, like there are spots for everyone at the top. She was like, any one of us can make it. She was just pretty much saying like, there's not enough positions, or she was saying it's not a fact of like every position is filled. It's a fact that there's not enough talent. So you guys can literally, if you work hard enough, we could all make it. We can. There's enough room for all of us. The negative side, she didn't say this. This is what I'm saying. Anyone can make it. And how many Netflix specials have we seen? How many like under the ground or under like CISO? I'm trying to think of something else. Like there have been so many like other spin-off from specials that have gone under. That's just like now the comics are like pretty much independently selling them. It's like there's so many platforms now that it's just there's so many comics that are also putting out their specials, and it's becoming over fluctuated. It's actually scaring other audiences away.
Well, isn't that good for the audience? They can select, or is it just they're overwhelmed with the content? Or
I really see more overwhelmed than I do see like actually enjoyment or research, because I'll use an example. Today I actually finally saw the Joe Coy special on Netflix, And it's because like I have been so burnt out from like seeing other comedy specials that I'm like, all right, I finally want to see it now.
What'd you think of it?
I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you get all the Filipino references and stuff?
Yes, because of the other Filipino comics I see on Mike's, but it was really funny.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Well, see, for me, I don't know if this is a generational thing. I side on what the Jay said as far as for the question, like if it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. Like in the early 90s, late 80s, like when music, I'm talking about just strictly the hip hop scene, was blowing up. It's like, oh, the Alcoholics put something out. Diggable Planets put something out. Tribe Called Quest put something out. Oh, Opio put out a single from Hieroglyphics. You know, it was just... your brain could explode with hyper creativity. I think the only reason why maybe it could be seen as a bad thing because it was a lot of so-so by big names. Like, I'm a big Chris D'Elia fan, but I want to say 2 out of the 3 that I saw wasn't good.
Yeah.
Louis C.K., maybe 1 out of the 4 that I saw was okay.
Okay, 2017, I keep on telling people, I'm like, his last special was the reason why the gatekeepers were like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, I mean...
The last one was which...
2017, that was the name of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought also his specials were pretty so-so. They weren't really that great. I mean, I thought 2017 was okay. I mean, you know, it was a lot of classic jokes or whatnot. It was like, what was your reference? 90s hip hop, kind of same thing with like Chris Rock, you know. So he just kind of went to the formula and put out a special, but it wasn't anything like, off the chart or new.
Yeah, because normally when something explodes out of the scene, like let's say British steel music, where you have anywhere from Ozzy Osbourne to, Black Sabbath, I should say first, and the Beatles, then anything. When there's an explosion, it's like great stuff, but it seems like this was an explosion of older comics. Let me restate that. An explosion of older comics. And it was just a bunch of so-so stuff. It wasn't like a renaissance, like a comeback, where we were like North Korean for a little bit for stand-up. But actually, in a way, we are, because fucking everyone's too sensitive now.
Yeah. Have we talked about the Chappelle specials?
I was going to say, I was just about to ask, like, what did you think? Did you think that was so-so, or?
I was okay with the first one in LA, but the second one in Austin was fucking amazing.
Way better. Because you got to see like the pieces of like what was he doing and like the family that he's around while he was gone. And it's just like, I felt like in Hollywood, I felt like it was him going like, yeah, I still got it. Yeah, like Kevin Hart still better, or like, who the fuck is this Kevin Hart guy? Like, he also did that Kevin and Peele joke, or the Key and Peele joke. But with Austin, it was just so crazy because like you saw him be more intimate, and all the callbacks still like fit perfectly. I just thought also the crowd in LA, the close-ups, there was like a Kardashian couple. People were well too dressed. It was just like, dude, relax. Like you watch Killing Me Softly, everyone was on cool out mode, still dressed fresh, but it wasn't like Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's just the crowd in Texas just look way better, dude. They were just there to hang out, not to be seen, if that makes sense.
But the LA one though was also filmed prior. It was like one of his first shows that he recorded, and it was like, him coming back to comedy. And I think that is also a reflection of maybe the crowd, the attire or whatnot, because it was really an event of like, all right, well, one, it's in LA, so the glam aspect is higher, and then 2, it's like, damn, Chappelle's coming back. And I think it just turned into like,
a
if it was a fight night. Yeah, so the main event is, the champion's in town, and it's maybe get dressed up a little bit. Let's go out before we go to the show or whatever like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I was impressed with both of them. I like them equally for different reasons. And I'm also a very big Chappelle fan.
Okay, to go off that reference with Jay, I view it as like GSP coming back after fighting for such a long time, or of not fighting for such a long time. It was Dave getting the rhythm in that LA one.
Yeah, it was a warm up, right?
It was the warm up, and I loved the fucking Austin one again because like you could see everything perfected to a T.
Yeah, I think there's also timing. I guess that's what you're leading towards, or one of the ingredients that you're talking about in Austin. You know, just the timing was just beautiful, right? LA, it just felt like if you're gonna do LA, you better kill like Ricky Gervais. You know, if you're doing the Oscars, you better fucking smash. You better fuck that in the mouth, dude. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, I understand because, you know, we revere Dave Chappelle from the memory of the Chappelle Show and Killing Me Softly, and you know, you want to go, hey man, this is good. This is Prince's album before Diamonds and Pearls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. So I see what you're saying. Also, but do you guys think stand-up's going to be halted in its growth because of how everyone's reacting right now? You're not talking like the way I want to, so you should be banned. I don't like you.
No, I don't think so.
Be halted?
Because I think that just makes more categories, right? There's just more
subgenres.
You know, subgenres, exactly, and you know, there's opportunity for everybody. It's just, you know, the cream is still going to rise to the top, so we're still going to praise the best of the best. If anybody can cross those lines, then yeah, they're going to go straight to the top. But you know, I think if anything, until the production company folds, like Netflix or, you know, Amazon, Hulu, whoever's paying for all these specials, until they start cutting back, you know, it's open season. And the thing about that too is just like you alluded to, that there are so many outlets. You know, there are just so many ways to get your material out there and noticed. So, you know, with that aspect in mind, the networks or the production companies, they're also reeling from losing their ground, you know, and if they have to pay out to prevent other people from, you know, the talent from just using their own network, fan network and stuff like that, you know, just like kind of like Kevin Hart, you know, he's at the top and he still can just like, it's like he can still sell movies. He still has the control because he has such a strong fan base. So, you know, until they start folding, and then it's like, okay, now everyone's gonna have to build on their own. You know, there should be enough people to eat.
Go ahead, Zach.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna talk. I didn't want the whole IPDTL thing throwing us off again. But I will say that I do see censorship happening, and it is making me sick.
Yep.
I think there are a lot of comedians who are already past that threshold that they won't stop, such as Doug Stanhope, Bill Burr, Joe Rogan. But like the thing is like with Bill Burr, if you look at it, Bill Burr, if he was saying the stuff that he was saying probably around my age, or even if he was like in his 30s, he would get ostracized because they would call him a misogynist. They'll call him a sexist. Anything like they could do just to like get him away from like the female audience. And like I honestly think Bill Burr, by him standing his ground, he is also a student of Patrice, and he's also been able to fight so many.
Patrice.
A peer, but like I think also like he notes that like if it wasn't for Patrice, he wouldn't have learned so many of the things to how to deal with arguments. And
sure.
I think he's able to fight off all these feminists for so long, and with his stature and his platform, you could see him actually using it to his like advantage. So,
yeah, and you know, regarding stand-ups, I revere people that I can't emulate, right? DJing. Like when I see DJs, I'm like, fuck, that's amazing. People in jiu-jitsu, it's like I'm so shitty at jiu-jitsu. That's why when I see a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, it's like I'm at awe. Same thing with stand-up. I told you and Joe this, Zach. It's like you guys may think, not to pat myself on the back, I got a good sense of humor, but I can't do that stand-up shit. There's no way. I could, but I would fail miserably and wouldn't like it. Where with hosting, it's kind of like Anthony Cumia. Not that I'm comparing myself to Anthony Cumia, but I'm saying Anthony Cumia, I think, is a very, very fucking funny radio legend. But he himself admitted, like, I can't do stand-up. No way. No way. I can't do that shit. I think... ironically, technology has, instead of bringing the intention of networking, it's more like social separation now. Mm-hmm. It's more, you'll find each other in the pool and then you separate. That's where it's led to. Like with TV shows, right? I just saw episode 1 of She's Got a Habit, which is inspired off Spike Lee's movie in the early 90s, or is that late 80s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s. She's Got a Habit. So I just saw episode 1. I just saw Dear White People, the whole season. And those type of programming, it's really separating white people from wanting to watch that shit, because there's still a good amount of like, hey, whites, you failed here, and which is why there's a lot of dummies who probably belong to like local militias that are fucking firing back, dude.
I also hear from people in that viewpoint. I mean, that kind of share that same, that align with that kind of person. It's just, I mean, they point to black the most, but so it's just like, why does everything have to be black? And, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And then, it's just like maybe the pride and stuff. And it's like they don't realize that, the normalization on all media platforms is white. It's like the norm is so white that they don't even realize how, like, they're like, oh, well, what if we were to make a white channel or something? It's like, dude, all the channels are white.
Right.
You can't say white, Friends or, white Big Bang Theory because it's white. So, it's like they start complaining about black shows and things like that. And it's just like, man, you guys are just really, I feel like you're just disconnected with everybody else. And it's like they're so entitled to, like, oh, it should be this way, it should be that way. And it's like, dude, that's just an old thinking, man. I think you need to speed up and catch up with the way times are going. Or they're just fighting it. They're really just trying to fight the evolution of things. You
know what, Jay? Sometimes I feel like it's just this rudimentary and simple. I just think it's just as simple as you can dish, but you can't take. Mm-hmm. It's just that simple. And you've been the dominant culture, but now that people have progressed, it's like, oh, you sure can dish and take over. You can win the Treaty of Guadalupe, but fucking nope. You know what I'm saying? And what I've learned by just, granted, some of it is more like, Island Asian. Oh my God, look, this mixed girl. Lulu has a pretty cousin. Oh yeah, Lulu's pretty too, and fucking heavy tits. And my God, look at all these good-looking girls at soul sessions on Sunday. Then you start, after I go through my fucking caveman research of beautiful Island Asian, Polynesian women, then you start learning about the culture, and I start finding parallels to Filipinos, to even some parts of Arabian culture where like Filipinos, Islandesians, and some Arabs are just to themselves. They don't need to be like Nords or Vikings. Not that there's anything wrong, but the rape part and eating a large fucking turkey leg is bad. But, you know, our culture is, we're good at our own zip code. We're good. We don't need to venture out, maybe to fucking for more proper, true spice trading. But, you know, there's part of your other half, Zach, the Spanish and the Portuguese. They venture out and, let me get your, I'll get the opium. I'll send these noodles to Italy, and let me grab some of your Asian women while we're at it.
Yeah.
Put it in. Let's Costco this fucking this culture, you know, where it's just when someone else shines in long form, Jay, to complement your point, in long form, it's just like now. What if the Samoan culture gets as big as, like, let's say, blacks?
Mm-hmm.
What do blacks have the right to complain? No, you can't, because it's their time, right?
Would that be, I guess, kind of like the whole, hip hop is ours, or black culture? You know, you can't wear dreadlocks and stuff like that. Isn't that kind of like
bingo?
The same
bingo. You know, it's any dominant culture that you created. You're gonna have to accept that people may use and borrow that. Like, this is a question I wanted to ask Q and Sav, and maybe even Lulu, because she's married to Mata from Common Kings. And maybe you guys can maybe help me out with this question. When did that reggae vibe transfer over to the Pacific Island vibe? When did it leave from the Caribbean culture and hop to the Polynesian, Islandesian, Hawaiian culture? Because growing up, I just thought it was just Caribbean, right? Or like, African, right?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, a lot of like the island music was, you know, what's the, like, Tiny Bubbles and, you know, just like really, really like aloha kind of, aloha music, you know, and I guess it's just being on an island and then hearing like the reggae sound or you know, it's like there is just an identification to it, and immediate like, oh, the tempo, we like that tempo. Oh, it's laid back. Okay, that works too. And then it's like, you know what, this is really dope, and it's a more accepted genre, or it can, you know, lead you more places, you know, club wise or whatever. Just kind of, I don't know. If I was to guess, dude, I would say, you know, somewhere in that late 80s kind of thing, you know, where music just started kind of leaking and going to different regions of the world. But I'm sure they listened to Bob Marley, you know, was that 70s and stuff like that. So maybe it could be the 70s. I don't know.
Zach, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah. So it and this is what I've observed. I just said like Islandesians and Islanders like are to themselves, right? You don't hear that many like people from the Caribbean culture or Jamaican culture that says, "Hey, Hawaiians, you jacked our culture," right? Mm-hmm. Because they're so cool out. They're Islanders, right? Just so happens it's on that side of the continent, that part of the ocean, and that's kind of like what I've learned. Like, even just being on this channel, like Joe Savage has a large fist, right? This guy used to play football, and even Lulu showed me pictures of like Joe Sav used to have like a 6-pack. Laid back dude, but he'll break your fucking face, right? A lot of people won't see that because you didn't know him during his football days, right? You didn't know him during his football days. And it's... I would hate for, like, unestablished cultures to get hit by that. Oh, you're appropriating my culture because you're doing it too. I would fucking hate that. Like that Jeremy. Oh, speaking of 2017, Kenyon Martin, Jeremy Lin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's terrible, dude. Terrible.
Yeah. And the whole thing of like, oh, we're not taking, it's not like you said the proper spice trade kind of thing. But well, maybe not musically, but damn it, you like some Hawaiian food. You've been to L&L and had some kind of food from there, or whatever, Aloha Grill or something like that in your neighborhood. And it's like, okay, well, you like that food, you eat that food, so what are we gonna say? Like, oh, you're eating our food, and it just has to be like, hey, look, you enjoy it, I enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it together, man, and try to make something new at one point or another.
Does the same apply to holidays?
Holidays.
Look at you, Zach.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the whole. If you're celebrating, you're celebrating. I mean, I think as long as you're, I don't know, man. At this point, it's like there are holidays that the Columbus Day holiday, right?
But no, I was talking about the Dia de Muertos.
Oh, you're talking about that, like culturally, like that?
Yeah.
I think but I do think that you have to kind of learn about it and not just take things from it to to just utilize it. I think that's the wrong part.
Like that part, or versus that holiday, I should say. That holiday versus Cinco de Mayo. It's like, dude, Cinco de Mayo is not even celebrated in Mexico.
Yeah, but they still have the big fights and it's a Mexican in it.
True.
Right, because it's like a weird global fusion, what's happening, right? We talked about the great burrito and taco movement in South Central LA in that same Jeremy Lin episode, right?
Yeah.
Mexicans don't bitch and complain.
Nope.
I think I don't remember when, but I eat at this
Charles?
Yep, I'll
Sorry,
restate
you
it.
don't remember what?
I'll restate it. I hear the lag. Do you guys hear your own lag too?
No,
it went out.
Okay, so I was at a Mexican restaurant here in the Philippines, and this person did the homage right. Like, he was doing like Filipinos doing Bruce Lee pictures, but mixed in with like that Spanish Mexican wrestling theme. And he did everything right. He actually used limes instead of lemons or calamansi. I mean, he used everything all in proper homage of like, hey, this is Mexican food, and it was kind of cool to see like they blended cultures properly, right? You just, clear the sample if you're going to put out a record, right? Clear the fucking sample.
Yeah.
That's all that is. And like even doing this show, I don't know if you'll recall this if you guys listened to it. Zach, we did a Monday Blues with Jay's sister, Jovan. We did a Mr. Smith, whatever thing.
yeah.
Right. So I did an old generational toss back to you, Zach. And then Zach was like, I think you just meant it in a playing way, but you turned to Jovan and you were like, why does he keep saying back to you? And then Jovan, the shine of light, just goes, no, that's an old school radio thing, like from the 50s and 60s and even the 40s.
Yeah.
That like Jay has made a reference and I made a reference where you follow it up. Like, no, Patrice O'Neal said that. And then I've backed up Jay's point and my point, and I go, no, Zach, that's a generational way of thinking. Where for you guys, it's a little bit more binary. For me and Jay, it was more the theme of that era. I hope I'm making sense. I'm not losing.
It's just how the times are.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just we're at a crossroads where people are forgetting, that happened before.
That's a huge crossroads, because it just seems like they're not remembering, and this is for everything. It's like people don't really care about history as much, and then it's like, with all the information that's at your fingertips on internet sources and whatever, people have tried to like rewrite history in a sense, and it's kind of like one of the revelations that have been coming to me in 2017 is just like this whole like embracing like conspiracy theories, and like my conspiracy theory third eye mind or whatever has blossomed a little bit more this year. And it's like, man, they were doing that to us when we were growing up, telling us about the Christopher Columbus story, and then
Stonehenge,
Pilgrims and all that stuff. Yeah, and then it's just like, then you find out, oh, Christopher Columbus came here, and then next thing you know, everybody else died. They don't really emphasize on all those kinds of things, how the natives were just killed off and whatnot. And it just seems like, oh, wait, I remember them telling us this way. And it's like, no. We know the real story now. We know how things, went down, and it's just being taken advantage of, where people like don't go back far enough. Like, you made a reference from the 40s, 50s, or 60s. I don't think anybody in this era growing up is really going to have a closeness to that side until a movie comes out or a TV show comes out to give them more attention to that era. You know what I mean? Because it's probably going to be more 80s focused or 70s focused, and it's like, okay, now we'll start from here. History starts from here, from now on. Everything else is just too old. And it's just like, it's just a cycle of information that they're just trying to hide from you, or shit like that. I don't know. Did I get too conspiracy theories?
No, not even. I got you.
I've been hanging out with Zach too long.
See what happens with your God, Charles?
No, I mean, it's long form, so I like it when you guys are when we're expressive like that. It's just the one thing I did notice, and it was further fortified, is like this whole I am an influencer, and I am without accomplishing anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, fuck. Oh, you just have to happen to be anywhere between 14 to 24 so you can get a good range. You can pose like you have the answers, but well, truly, like, you yourself need help. We've even interviewed someone who's like this media personality, and it's like, bitch, how the fuck are you supposed to be telling people how to be when you're like 24 and you still have to go through the fire of paying for your own fucking homeowner's insurance?
Right.
When you're getting help moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, and then, oh, you can do it too. You can move to LA. It's affordable. Well, yeah, it's affordable because you didn't feel the pain of fucking actually selling your vagina to fucking make October, November rent. Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's like that's one thing I can't bend into. Where an influencer to me is someone like, let's say, Matt Lauer. Let's use someone concurrent. I showed my dick. I went to Dick Anonymous and got corrected with flashing my dick. I got put into jail. This is why you shouldn't show your dick. And then you become that sexual harassment influencer. You know what I mean? You have to go through some kind of fire. But now it's just like, oh, I like that message. He's an influencer. She's an influencer.
Yeah.
People don't examine that. Like, who is this person? What have they gone through?
What's their story?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, they also are gonna reach for like the most accessible information too. So usually that's some kind of social media, or just kind of whatever picture has been painted of this person, right? So once one source says, oh, it's like this, then other people will be quick to jump on it if it's a Instagram, and oh, okay, this person is real because look at their Instagram feed, it's pretty consistent, and yada yada yada. I just feel like, I don't know if it's just a generational thing, or we're just progressing, either technologically or I don't know if socially if it's right, but I just feel like we don't look back. Just to kind of reemphasize your point, Charles, like looking back and doing the research itself. I don't know if it's the same as going through the fire, but I think it's part of it, just kind of looking back and making sure, where you're going with whatever you're researching is actually correct and factual, and, is backed up by different sources. So, you don't run into this issue later, right? Like Matt Lauer, he's gone through the fire, or like I think of hip hop and like they tell stories about when they were selling drugs or whatever, their past, and those are the stories that, like, oh, okay, this kind of shows you their credibility in some sort of way. But maybe if it's a borrowed story, maybe the song was written by somebody else. I mean, those are the kinds of things that maybe are good to find out.
I know we've hit the hour, but I want to go over a little bit. There's also like recently, like there was like a first roster of all blacks were on the Grammy nominations, right?
Yeah.
And then this guy, Q-Tip, complained of not being nominated. And this is a guy I look up to as a true influencer. But maybe it became normalized because Kanye can complain, and then now someone like Q-Tip is going to complain too. Now someone like Q-Tip is going to complain too, in case that was skipped.
Yeah, it was skipped.
So, first of all, I don't think you should be sour grapes if you weren't nominated for the Tribe Called Quest album, not being nominated. Mm-hmm. Right? You shouldn't. Because it's a different time. Also, you look like Kanye, Taylor Swift. Second of all, this is not typical of Q-Tip to be like. He's just like the laid-back, cool, creative dude, and then now he's complaining. So I don't know if that's normalization to being whiny. Feature me. Me.
Yeah.
Don't you guys think that's done in bad taste?
Maybe it was his expectation.
Well, it is his expectation, right?
But just of going like, I'm expecting this world tour, so to speak, and he's expecting to come back and just have more limelight or more spotlight for that moment. And the fact that he wasn't even nominated, it's just like, it's more of an insult that like he has to go back away to the closet.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, the how long of being relevant, maybe, and is that a reflection of just trying to adjust to the new time, where it's like, hey, you could even put out a dope record, and it'll be good for a couple months, but the staying power really is how long it resonates with the newer generation of listeners.
Yeah.
And it's like the relevancy that way.
So if Jay-Z wasn't on the roster of nominees, is it more acceptable for Phife than go, oh shit, I'm just that old motherfucker. Shit.
Well, Jay-Z is different though. He's just another beast. He's like the Jordan of hip hop, especially for this generation, because it's like when they were growing up, and you're thinking of millennials or whatnot, Jay-Z was coming to a peak, but they weren't around for the early Jay-Z, the 95, 96 stuff where it was just okay. It was just like, all right, he's still gotta make his ways, because they're probably at the earliest, like Blueprint 2 or something like that, Black Album or something, and he's already got a lot of the shine, and then he's already maybe with Beyonce or something like that. So they see him as this, like, oh, he's
rap demigod.
Demigod, exactly. So, his lasting power is what puts him up there too. It's not the same as Q-Tip.
See, it's hard for me to judge on that question because I haven't heard the whole album from Jay-Z.
Neither have I.
So for me, perhaps also it's maybe Jay-Z's like what Puff strive to be. I'll be corporate, but I can still put out records that the youth like. Like, no one's gonna like fucking what Puff puts out. For this younger generation, I think Jay-Z has had a longer peak also. A very long, successful peak. Yeah. Where like with Puff, now he's trying to find the next band again. It's like, dude, give up, dude.
Jay-Z's also married to Beyonce.
Sure.
And that's added longevity to his musical relevance too, because what the Lemonade album did for him is like, oh, you're gonna put an album out? What is it gonna say? And now the material is, and I'm gonna say this first too, is that I haven't listened to the whole album all the way through. I just kind of went through the highlights and listened to a couple of tracks all the way through. But it's like, oh, everyone's seeing, oh, what are you gonna respond to the Lemonade allegations? and he talks about those kinds of things, and then, oh, okay, you see another angle of him, and then on top of that, he's also appealing to the us old school heads, because he's talking about 40-year-old shit, I guess to cut it short. So I think he's just, his brand and everything carries himself more than anything he's done musically. Because honestly, Jay-Z stuff before, to me, used to be like not the standard so much as like, oh, he's edgy. And now it just kind of seems like he's kind of catching up, or just kind of staying in on top, or staying in his position.
See, I'm gonna
Kobe in the late years.
I'm gonna put myself in Q-Tip's position, so I'm not fighting for this expressed opinion. Like Childish Gambino, what the fuck? And Cardi B, you were a fucking reality star. How are you hip hop? You were a fucking stripper. And you got celebrated because you were like one of the first females to ever hit like top 1 for like the longest amount of weeks. And it's like, you're a stripper and you're a reality star. That's probably what Q-Tip's thinking, is like, dude, these Migos fucks. Right? I think I'm looking at it. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at it. He's going Gold Link. Okay, cool. I like that guy. Pharrell, respect. Jay-Z, respect. Right?
Yeah.
But putting ourselves in Q-Tip's position, but he's looking at a few other of these fucks, and he's like,
wait, can you say that again? From Q-Tip's position?
From Q-Tip's position, he's looking at some of the other people. Oh, Kendrick Lamar, you can't deny.
Right.
Jay-Z, right. We just said we didn't listen to the album, so let's just say in theory that's a nomination by grandiose fucking persona.
Yep.
But Cardi B, who's a reality star, gone fucking singer rapper, and then Childish Gambino, who's good but Grammy, and then I just put out an album with a fucking Tribe Called Quest again, and we managed to mix and master fucking diabetic Q-Tip fucking on our last album, which was revered both by the popular side and creative side. You know,
which was revered.
It was revered both by the IPDTL.
Wow, it's cutting off that much, huh?
Yeah, it just cut off when it was revered. When?
Let's just say I was imitating Migos.
Or
something like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of adjustment what we're going through, huh?
It is. And that's got to be. I definitely see Q-Tip's point. You know, I mean, I definitely see that. But again, it's like you just got to adjust. You know, I mean, he's looking at these new artists maybe the way that we look at people that live in the arts district now. You know, it's like, oh man, you guys live here, you guys think it's cool, and it wasn't. It was cool. It was cool 10, 15 years ago before all this shit was there, right? And you guys are now, you know, oh, we're edgy. We live in the arts district, but now there's a Shake Shack and an Apple store. What do you call it? Vending machine or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like they got all kinds of stuff over there, and it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's just a redeveloped area.
So 2 more things, and I know we're well over time. Zach, you're still good at work?
Yeah, got to start in like 10.
Okay, 5 minutes. I'll say I've been praising a lot of Latinos. Let me unpraise them to find balance. I think Despacito was the worst song for 2017. The wackest fucking track. The last thing I wanted to talk about a little bit in 5 minutes is like women. Like, there's this trend with like Mia Khalifa. Guys will just try and mac on her, and then she'll put them on blast. I think that's completely unfair and fucking bitchy. And I guess we'll close with that, and I'll get your reactions about that. You know, it's this newfound power which I'm happy for women, but at the same time, I feel like people are using it in the wrong way.
Yeah, because Mia Khalifa does the same exact thing to guys, and then she acts like the victim happens to her. God, Gilbert Arenas won't respond back. I was just trying to be friendly. She'll just like try to act stupid, going like, you know, I wasn't really flirting with him, but then you look at the DMs and you be like, oh yeah, you were trying to slip into them. But at the same time, she's gonna put all these dudes on blast, and it's like, dude, like, it's not even just because of your fucking career or like you as a webcam or what you used to do as a porn star. It's the fact that like you're fucking thirsty and these guys are also thirsty. So just because they think they could fucking slip into your DMs doesn't mean like they deserve to be fucking called out.
Yeah, she's an attention whore, man. I think in her case, using the social media for those kinds of reasons. I think the Gilbert Arenas one, I think didn't they say that was for a show? They're trying to put together?
They're doing a show, but at the same time, like, she was hitting him up multiple times in his DMs, trying to see if he could hang out. And like he was ignoring her. And so the thing is, she never responded back. Or he never responded back, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that's all like trying to get traction for their show or whatever kind of show they're trying to develop, and trying to get interest. I don't know how much it got, but you know, it was a blip for me. And you know, once they stopped talking about it, I stopped thinking about it. But you're right, Charles. I think the using those kinds of it's like people can't even be themselves anymore. You know, you're thinking about those repercussions, I guess, of either getting put on blast or whatever. And it is kind of good in the sense of like, okay, let's move ahead and not just be Neanderthals or whatever. But at the same time, I think the repression of, oh, I can't express this way because I got to think about it's going to be on social media or some shit like that. I think there's going to be just like some kind of fallback to it, you know, where people are going to be like, I just got to say something, you know, and it'll just kind of regress into something maybe more serious. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of spitballing now at this point.
I just wouldn't want someone to clap back at Mia Khalifa and then go, bitch, it's just part of asking you out. And then that guy looks bad because he said that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, dude, how are you going to initiate contact if you're from a different state? Hey, I'm going to be in LA this date. Maybe I can take you out. As simple as that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that was a good 2017 wrap up, I guess, huh? Is that enough?
Yeah. Like 15 minutes ago was enough. But for 2018, I'm not saying I don't sound hopeful because I don't sound hopeful, but it's just up to us, I guess, to adjust, right? And just be better.
Let's go get it, man. Let's go get it.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
2018.
To 2018. Yes, indeed. Signing off, PlugOneTwo.